They say charisma is a gift, but that's not true. Charisma means nothing if you can't connect. Most people don't leave impressions because they're too busy trying to be remembered. They perform, they speak, they demand attention. But the unforgettable ones, they do something different. They create gravity, not through volume or spectacle, but through presence so complete that when they leave, the room feels emptier. That's the power Da Vinci understood. The ability to make yourself essential to anyone you meet. To occupy their memory without ever asking for space. Most people try to impress. The wise try to resonate. They don't chase recognition. They design it. They don't beg for attention. They earn permanence. And when everyone else fades into the noise of forgotten faces, they remain vivid, necessary, impossible to ignore. Because being unforgettable isn't about being loud, it's about being felt. Every shallow interaction you refuse becomes depth. Every moment of real attention you give becomes imprint. Leonardo knew that being memorable is the rarest form of influence. He understood that the person who can lodge themselves in another's mind can shape that mind without ever speaking again. So the question is not how do you make people like you, it's how do you make them unable to forget you. In this video, we'll break down how to develop that magnetism, how to leave marks on memory, how to connect through Da Vinci's principles, and how to use presence to become permanently woven into the lives of those you touch. By the end, you won't just meet people, you'll haunt them. And once you do, they'll carry you with them long after you've gone. If you want to master the art of becoming unforgettable and discover more strategies rooted in the minds of history's greatest thinkers, subscribe to Beyond Sanity. We dive deep into the psychology of influence, presence, and power every single week. Being unforgettable doesn't start with what you say. It starts with how you see. Before Leonardo painted a single stroke, he observed. Before he designed a machine, he studied anatomy, light, motion, the hidden mechanics of existence. He understood that most people move through the world blind, reacting to surfaces, never penetrating the layers beneath. But to become unforgettable, you must see people the way Da Vinci saw everything, as systems of hidden beauty waiting to be understood. Most conversations are performances. Two actors taking turns reciting lines, waiting for their moment to speak, never truly listening. But Leonardo didn't perform. He absorbed. When he looked at a face, he didn't see features. He saw structure, emotion, story. He saw what time had carved into flesh and what fear kept hidden behind the eyes. That level of attention is magnetic because it's so rare. In a world where everyone is half present, distracted by screens or their own thoughts, the person who truly sees you becomes unforgettable. Because they made you feel real. They made you feel witnessed. And that feeling, that rare experience of being fully seen, etches itself into memory like nothing else can. To see deeply is to care intensely, not emotionally, but intellectually. It's the care of a scientist studying a phenomenon, the care of an artist observing light. When you look at someone that way, they feel it. They sense that your attention isn't transactional. You're not scanning for what they can give you. You're genuinely curious about who they are. And curiosity, real curiosity, is one of the most seductive forces in human interaction. Leonardo's notebooks reveal this obsession. He sketched hands in dozens of positions. He dissected cadavers to understand muscle. He watched water flow for hours, noting every ripple and current. That same intensity, when turned toward people, transforms every encounter. You stop seeing roles and start seeing individuals. You notice the hesitation before they speak. You catch the flash of pride when they mention something they love. You see the mask slip for just a second, revealing the person underneath. And when you see that, when you reflect it back through your attention, you become part of their internal world. They think about you later because you made them think about themselves differently. To be unforgettable, observe like Da Vinci. Study people the way he studied nature, with patience, fascination, and the understanding that beneath every surface lies a universe worth exploring. The person who masters observation doesn't just meet people, they discover them. And discovery is never forgotten. Most people speak to fill silence. Leonardo spoke to create it. There's a vast difference between talking and communicating. Talking is noise, The endless stream of words meant to prove intelligence or worthiness or presence. But communication is resonance. It's the art of saying less and meaning more. Da Vinci understood that words, when chosen carefully, carry weight that volume never can. He didn't lecture. He suggested. He didn't explain everything. He left space for minds to wander and wonder. That restraint made every word matter. When he spoke, people leaned in because they knew nothing was wasted. Every sentence was a door, not a wall. The unforgettable person knows when to speak, and more importantly, when to stay silent. Silence is not emptiness. It's invitation. It tells the other person that you're not rushing to judgment, not filling space with your agenda. You're giving them room to unfold, and in that space, they reveal themselves. They speak truths they didn't plan to say. They share thoughts they usually guard, because your silence made them feel safe enough to fill it with meaning. Leonardo's art reflects this philosophy. The Mona Lisa doesn't shout, it whispers. The smile suggests rather than declares. It leaves the viewer wondering, interpreting, returning again and again to decode what cannot be fully grasped. That's the power of restraint. It creates mystery, and mystery is magnetic. People forget what you tell them, but they never forget how you made them feel uncertain in the best way. Curious, drawn in by what you didn't say as much as what you did. In conversation, this means resisting the urge to prove yourself. Don't rush to showcase your knowledge or accomplishments. Let them emerge naturally, subtly, almost accidentally. When someone realizes you're brilliant without you announcing it, the impression cuts deeper. When they discover your value through hints and glimpses rather than declarations, they feel like they've found treasure, and people never forget treasure they had to search for. Speak like Leonardo painted, with intention, with layers, with the understanding that what's implied often resonates more than what's explicit. Let your words breathe. Let pauses stretch just a moment longer than comfort allows. In those moments, connection deepens, because you're not just talking at someone. You're creating space for something real to happen between you. The unforgettable voice isn't the loudest. It's the one that makes you stop and listen, not because it demands attention, but because it offers something rare in a world of noise. Substance wrapped in simplicity, depth delivered without pretension, and silence used not as absence, but as punctuation that makes every word unforgettable. Leonardo da Vinci didn't just create art. He created experiences. The Last Supper wasn't a painting. It was a moment frozen in time, so vivid that viewers felt like they'd walked into the room during betrayal's first whisper. David wasn't just a statue by his predecessor. It was defiance carved into marble, so lifelike that people expected it to move. Leonardo understood that to be unforgettable, you must make people feel something they didn't expect to feel. Most interactions are forgettable because they're predictable. Pleasantries exchanged, roles performed, scripts followed. But the unforgettable person breaks the pattern. They surprise. They shift the emotional register of a conversation, taking it somewhere unexpected, deeper, lighter, stranger, anywhere but the shallow waters where most people swim. Emotion is memory's anchor. You might forget what someone said, but you never forget how they made you feel. Da Vinci knew this. Every piece he created was designed to trigger emotion, awe, curiosity, unease, wonder. He didn't aim for passive appreciation. He wanted reaction, the kind that lingers long after the viewing ends. In personal connection, this means being willing to go beyond surface-level exchange. It means asking questions that make people pause and think. It means sharing observations that surprise them about themselves. It means being unafraid to laugh genuinely, to fall silent dramatically, to lean into intensity when everyone else is playing it safe. Emotional range makes you memorable because most people operate in a narrow band. They stay pleasant, neutral, careful. But the person who can access the full spectrum of human emotion, who can be contemplative one moment and playfully irreverent the next, becomes impossible to categorize. And what can't be categorized can't be forgotten. Leonardo's genius was his refusal to be contained. He was artist, scientist, engineer, anatomist, musician. He moved between worlds with ease, bringing insights from one domain to illuminate another. That fluidity made him endlessly fascinating. People never knew what he'd say or create next. The same principle applies to personal magnetism. When you refuse to be one-dimensional, when you reveal different facets depending on context and company, you become a puzzle worth solving. Every interaction reveals a new piece, and people keep coming back to see what else you contain. But emotion without authenticity is manipulation, and people sense the difference. Da Vinci's work moved people because it was true. He studied real anatomy, real light, real human expressions. His creations resonated because they reflected reality at its most essential. In the same way, your emotional impact must come from genuine presence. You can't fake depth. You can't manufacture meaningful connection. But when you show up fully, when you allow yourself to feel and express without performance, that authenticity becomes its own form of art. People remember the person who made them laugh until their sides hurt. They remember the one who said exactly what they needed to hear in a difficult moment. They remember the conversation that shifted their perspective, the encounter that made them feel alive, seen, challenged, comforted. Create those moments deliberately, not through manipulation, but through presence. Be willing to go to emotional places others avoid. Be the person who can hold space for someone's pain without trying to fix it. Be the one who celebrates someone's joy without diminishing it with your own stories. Emotion is the language beneath language. Master it the way Leonardo mastered light and shadow, and you won't just be remembered. You'll be felt every time someone recalls your name. The unforgettable person is never fully revealed. There's always something held back, something mysterious, something that makes others lean closer, wanting more. Leonardo understood this instinctively. His notebooks were written in mirror script, as if even his thoughts required decoding. His paintings contained hidden symbols, subtle references, layers of meaning that scholars still debate centuries later. He never gave everything away, and that restraint made him eternal. Mystery is power because it creates obsession. When someone can't quite figure you out, they keep thinking about you. They revisit conversations, searching for clues. They watch you more carefully next time, hoping to glimpse what you've kept hidden. And in that process of wondering, you become embedded in their consciousness. You occupy mental real estate that fully transparent people never access. Most people overshare. In their desperation to be liked or understood, they lay everything bare within the first few meetings. They tell their whole story, explain every opinion, reveal every insecurity. And while vulnerability can create connection, premature transparency creates familiarity without intrigue. Once someone feels they know everything about you, there's no reason to keep exploring. The mystery is solved. The book is finished. Time to move on. But the person who reveals themselves slowly, strategically, in layers, remains compelling. Every conversation uncovers something new. Every meeting adds depth to the previous impression. They're a story that unfolds over time, and humans are hardwired to complete stories we've started. Leonardo's life embodied this principle. He left many works unfinished. He disappeared for years at a time. He served different patrons, moved between cities, reinvented himself repeatedly. No one could pin him down. And that elusiveness made him legendary. People told stories about him, speculated about his methods, wondered at his genius. He became myth as much as man, because the gaps in knowledge allowed imagination to fill the spaces. In modern terms, this means cultivating strategic ambiguity. Not lies, not deception, but the art of leaving certain things unsaid. When someone asks about your past, give them the interesting outline, not the detailed inventory. When they inquire about your plans, share the vision, not the blueprint. Let them wonder about the depths they haven't reached yet. Mystery also lives in contradiction. Leonardo was both scientist and artist, rational and imaginative, methodical and inspired. He contained multitudes, and that complexity made him impossible to reduce to a single narrative. Be willing to surprise people with unexpected facets of yourself. If they think you're purely intellectual, reveal your artistic side. If they assume you're serious, let them discover your absurd sense of humor. Every contradiction makes you more three-dimensional, more real, more memorable. But mystery requires confidence. You must be comfortable with not being fully known, with letting people wonder, with resisting the urge to explain yourself into obviousness. That comfort comes from internal security. When you know your own worth, you don't need everyone else to validate it through complete understanding. You can afford to be enigmatic because you're not seeking approval. You're offering discovery. The unforgettable person understands that humans value what they have to work for. The painting that reveals itself slowly is studied longer than the one that shows everything at first glance. The person who unfolds gradually is remembered longer than the one who exhausts their interest in a single conversation. Be the artwork that demands a second look. Be the story that requires rereading. Be the presence that lingers in memory because something about you remains deliciously unresolved. That's how Leonardo achieved immortality. Not by explaining everything, but by leaving enough mystery that 500 years later, we're still trying to understand him. And in that perpetual wondering, he remains unforgettable. Leonardo da Vinci's greatest insight wasn't about art or science. It was about value. He understood that people remember those who give them something they can't find anywhere else. Not gifts or favors, but experiences, perspectives, moments that expand their world. To be unforgettable, you must offer what others cannot, not through superiority, but through specificity. Everyone has unique combinations of knowledge, experience, and insight. The unforgettable person identifies what makes them irreplaceable and offers it generously. For Leonardo, it was the intersection of art and science. He could discuss human anatomy with physicians and beauty with poets. He brought engineering precision to artistic problems and aesthetic sensibility to mechanical design. That unique synthesis made him invaluable. Princes competed for his presence because no one else could offer what he provided, a mind that illuminated everything it touched. You don't need to be a Renaissance genius to apply this principle. You simply need to identify your unique value. What can you see that others miss? What connections can you make that others don't? What perspective do you bring that challenges or expands the conventional view? Once you identify it, give it freely in every meaningful interaction. The person who consistently offers fresh insight becomes essential. They're consulted, sought out, remembered. Because in a world of recycled opinions and borrowed thoughts, original perspective is rare enough to be precious. But value isn't just intellectual. Sometimes it's emotional. Maybe you're the person who makes others feel safe enough to be honest. Maybe you're the one who brings levity to heavy situations or gravitas to frivolous ones. Maybe your gift is seeing potential in people before they see it in themselves. Whatever your unique offering, it becomes your signature. People will associate you with that specific quality, and every time they need it, they'll think of you. Leonardo's value extended beyond his work. People remembered how he made them feel curious, inspired, challenged to think differently. He didn't just paint portraits. He helped people see beauty they'd overlooked. He didn't just design machines. He helped people imagine possibilities they'd never considered. Every interaction with him expanded the other person's reality. That's unforgettable value. Offering value also means refusing to waste people's time. Leonardo's communication was efficient, meaningful, purposeful. He didn't engage in empty chatter. When he gave attention, it mattered. When he shared ideas, they were worth considering. That respect for others' time and attention made every encounter with him feel significant. In practical terms, this means bringing substance to conversations. Instead of filling time with complaints or gossip or recycled news, offer observations, questions, ideas that spark thought. Make people leave conversations with you feeling enriched, not drained. Make them feel like the time spent with you was an investment that paid immediate dividends. But here's the paradox. The more value you offer, the less you should announce it. Leonardo didn't brag about his abilities. His work spoke. His presence proved. The unforgettable person lets their value emerge through demonstration, not declaration. They show rather than tell. And when someone discovers your worth through experience rather than advertisement, the impression cuts infinitely deeper. To become unforgettable, ask yourself after every significant interaction, What did I give this person that they couldn't get anywhere else? If the answer is nothing, you're forgettable. But if you can point to a moment where you expanded their thinking, improved their mood, challenged their assumptions, or simply made them feel genuinely seen, you've planted a seed of memory that will grow long after you've left. Leonardo's legacy endures because he gave the world gifts it had never seen before and hasn't seen since. His specific combination of talents was unrepeatable. Your combination is too. Stop trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, identify what you alone can offer and give it so completely, so genuinely, so consistently that people can't imagine their world without having known you. That's how you become unforgettable. Not by taking up space, but by leaving something behind that changes the space you occupied. Most people think memory is passive, that being remembered is luck or chemistry or some mysterious force beyond control. But Leonardo knew better. Memory is architecture. It can be designed, built, reinforced. Every interaction is an opportunity to construct a place in someone's mind, and the unforgettable person builds deliberately. Think about what you remember from your own life. Not the pleasant but forgettable moments, but the ones that stuck. They're usually marked by intensity, surprise, or meaning. Something happened that broke the pattern of ordinary experience. Leonardo created these moments constantly. When he dissected bodies, he didn't just observe. He drew them with such precision that his anatomical sketches became teaching tools for centuries. When he painted, he didn't just replicate. He innovated techniques like sfumato that changed how art was made forever. Every action was designed not just to accomplish a task, but to leave a permanent mark. To become unforgettable, you must think of interactions as opportunities to create memorable moments, not through grand gestures necessarily, but through intentional impact. Say the thing others are thinking but won't voice. Ask the question that shifts the conversation from surface to depth. Share the observation that reframes how someone sees a situation. These moments become anchors in memory because they matter. They changed something. Repetition also builds memory. Leonardo returned to the same subjects repeatedly, refining, reconsidering, adding layers. The Last Supper took years. Mona Lisa was never truly finished in his mind. This dedication to depth over breadth made his work impossible to forget. In relationships, this means showing up consistently. The person who appears once brilliantly and then vanishes is intriguing but ultimately forgettable. The person who returns, who deepens the connection over time, who proves their interest through sustained attention, that person becomes part of someone's life architecture. They're not a memory, they're a presence. But consistency doesn't mean sameness. Leonardo's consistency was in quality and intensity, not in repetition. Every time he approached a subject, he brought new insight, new technique, new understanding. In the same way, every interaction you have with someone should deepen the relationship, not just repeat the previous encounter. Bring new thoughts. Notice new things about them. Reference previous conversations in ways that show you remember and have been thinking about what they shared. This demonstrates that they matter to you beyond the moment, and that demonstration cements your place in their memory. The unforgettable person also understands the power of association. Leonardo surrounded himself with beauty, curiosity, and excellence. His workshops were filled with other talented people, interesting objects, ongoing experiments. Being in his presence meant being in an environment of constant stimulation. He became associated with that feeling of expansion and possibility. You can create similar associations. Be the person who always knows about interesting ideas, who recommends books that change perspectives, who introduces people to each other in ways that create value. When you become the nexus of interesting things, people think of you constantly because you're connected to so much they care about. Physical reminders also anchor memory. Leonardo left gifts of sketches, designs, letters. These objects carried his presence beyond his physical availability. In modern context, this might mean following up conversations with a relevant article, a book recommendation, a piece of music. These small gestures keep you present in someone's life even when you're absent. They're reminded of you every time they encounter what you shared. Finally, the unforgettable person understands that memory is emotional. Facts fade, feelings remain. Leonardo's work endures not because people remember historical details about his life, but because his creations make them feel something profound every time they're encountered. In your interactions, prioritize emotional resonance over information transfer. People will forget most of what you say. They'll never forget how you made them feel seen, challenged, comforted, inspired. To architect memory, you must think beyond the immediate moment. Every conversation is a brick. Every gesture is a beam. Over time, you're building a structure in someone's mind, a place where you permanently reside. Build it with intention. Build it with care. Build it to last. That's what Leonardo did. 5 centuries after his death, he occupies more mental space than most living people. Not by accident, but by design. He understood that being unforgettable isn't a gift. It's a craft. And like any craft, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered by anyone willing to treat human connection as the art form it truly is. In the end, becoming unforgettable comes down to one fundamental truth: presence. Not the shallow presence of physical proximity, but the complete presence of mind, attention, and intention. Leonardo da Vinci achieved immortality not through his paintings alone, but through the way he inhabited every moment fully. When he observed completely. When he created without compromise. When he engaged with another person, he gave them the totality of his focus. That level of presence is so rare that it becomes its own form of magic. Most people are ghosts in their own lives, half present, distracted, thinking about the past or worrying about the future, while the present slips through their fingers untouched. They move through interactions on autopilot, performing social scripts without ever truly connecting. And so they're forgotten, not because they lack worth, but because they never fully arrived. But the person who shows up completely, who brings their entire being to each encounter, becomes impossible to forget. Because in a world starving for genuine attention, the person who offers it becomes a feast. They make others feel real, seen, valued in a way that's so uncommon, it's transformative. Leonardo understood that the greatest gift you can give another person is your complete attention. Not attention divided among devices or thoughts or agendas, but the focused beam of consciousness that says, in this moment, you are what matters to me. That gift changes people. They carry it with them long after the moment ends. To live this way requires discipline. It means putting down your phone. It means silencing the inner monologue that's constantly planning your next move. It means resisting the urge to think about what you'll say next while someone else is speaking. It means training yourself to be exactly where you are, with whoever you're with, as completely as possible. When you master this, everything changes. Your observations become sharper because you're actually looking. Your responses become more meaningful because you actually heard what was said. Your presence becomes magnetic because it's so rare that people feel drawn to it instinctively. They might not understand why, but they know they feel different around you. More alive, more real, more themselves. Leonardo's legacy teaches us that being unforgettable isn't about being perfect or brilliant or extraordinarily talented, though those things don't hurt. It's about being fully human in a world of partial people. It's about offering depth in an age of surfaces. It's about being genuinely curious in a culture of performance. It's about showing up completely when everyone else is just passing through. The techniques we've explored, observation, restraint, emotional range, mystery, unique value, memory architecture, these are all tools, but they're meaningless without the foundation of presence, because presence is what makes all of them real. Without it, you're just performing techniques. With it, you're creating genuine connection. And genuine connection is the only thing that truly lasts. So the question isn't really how to become unforgettable. It's whether you're willing to show up fully for the people you meet, to see them completely, to offer them your undivided attention, to create moments that matter instead of just passing time, to leave something of value in every interaction, to treat every encounter as an opportunity to touch someone's life in a way they'll carry forward. Leonardo did this. Not perfectly, not always, but consistently enough that 500 years later we're still talking about him. Not just about what he created, but about who he was. The man who saw more, felt more, gave more, and in doing so became permanently woven into the fabric of human memory. You have that same capacity. Every person does. The only question is whether you'll use it, whether you'll choose presence over distraction, depth over surface, genuine connection over comfortable performance. The path to becoming unforgettable isn't mysterious. It's right in front of you, in every conversation, every meeting, every moment you share with another person. Leonardo showed us how. Now it's just a matter of whether you'll follow, not by copying his methods exactly, but by embracing his principle that every moment matters. Every person deserves to be truly seen. And the greatest art form of all is the mark we leave on each other's lives. Be present. Be genuine. Be generous with your attention and your gifts. Do this consistently, and you won't need to try to be memorable. You'll be unforgettable simply because you were fully there when so many others weren't. And in the end, that's all Leonardo really did. He showed up completely to his life, his work, and his relationships. The immortality came as a consequence, not a goal. Show up that way yourself, and you'll discover what he discovered. That being unforgettable has nothing to do with forcing people to remember you, and everything to do with giving them something worth remembering. Something real. Something true. Something that touched them in a way nothing else could. That's the art. That's the secret. That's how you become unforgettable to anyone.